There's actual rules of how long a
short
is,
yeah.
and usually a film is 60 plus.
Yeah, I mean, short films, you make some, I've seen some as short as a minute long. And
some 30 seconds, and some can
It's
be...
kind of like the difference between a crab apple and an apple.
Right.
Yeah. Actually, we submitted Breaking News to, it's actually a feature, but we submitted it to Best Shorties, it was called, or Best of Shorts, because their cutoff, they needed it to be 58 minutes, so we just took out 2 or 3 frames, and we're like, well, we're set at 58, you know. So it's just the time that determines that.
Right, and then, but you kind of clarified that a short could be 10 minutes, 3 minutes, 1 minute, and then, but as long as it's over X number of minutes, then it would qualify for the feature category. So what would be your advice to an aspiring person about going after doing what your heart says, whether it be feature or short, or for practical purposes to really get your foot into the door? Should they maybe attempt one over the other initially to cut their teeth on? What would be your recommendations?
I had a friend that posted this great quote by Ira Glass on Facebook recently. It was basically talked about, you always have this idea, this vision of what you want to do coming out, and then through trial and error, you find out that often what you're actually writing or performing or whatever it may be, whatever kind of creative endeavor you may do, is not quite reaching where you want it to be. And the quote, which if I try to paraphrase it, not be doing it any justice, essentially said that the only way to close that gap is to just keep working nonstop, and eventually you'll see that gap kind of closing. And a lot of people give up before they get to that point because you write something, and I don't know, I'm sure it's true, but my close friends that are in this kind of thing are like this. We pour our heart out into something we write, or into something we shoot, or something we direct, show it to friends, and in your head,
Excited as
right, you're expecting, and well, not expecting, but maybe hoping everybody just bravo, this is so moving. But and sometimes you just settle for the. That was pretty good.
Sounds like the same thing that anyone in the arts has to do, an actor or anyone else. You work, and occasionally you face rejection. Occasionally.
Most of the time.
Exactly. And but you just keep working at it. And if I could actually answer your question as well, I think it has to be your passion. It has to be something you love. Because if it's not something you love, if all you're trying to do is make money, or be famous, eventually you're going to hit a wall that basically says, I can't do this anymore. But if it's something that you love, you're willing to learn and put your time into it, to face the rejection, to get better, because, it's who you are. And so at least that's the way I feel. I'm continuing to try to improve. I'm working constantly to become a better actor. And I think if I ever became satisfied with the actor that I became, it would be time for me to quit.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, so what are you doing as far as the future? Let's talk about what you hope to accomplish, your dreams. At the beginning of this segment, I mentioned that obviously Steven Spielberg, John Lucas, Spike Lee, all of these people started somewhere, and probably started with a dream, with a goal. So, even if it's not in this area, what would you say 5-10 years from now you want people to be able to say, this really represents who Mike, Kelly, Daniel has become? What would be your aspirations?
I guess my biggest, I think you hit the nail right on the head as far as being famous or anything like that. I would love for somebody, like my number one goal in life is, I want to be a director. I want to be able to write and direct and do all that kind of fun stuff because I enjoy it. But I would love for someone to say, I don't want them to say, oh, I love Mike Campanizzi. You know, they can say, oh, I like Steven Spielberg or whatever, but I want them to say, oh, I like this film, and I just happen to be the director of it. That would be the greatest compliment I could ever get. If no one named that as superb, but if they know one title of my film and say, wow, that was really good, and I enjoyed the hour and a half that I spent in the theater watching it, that would be the best compliment I could ever get as far as my career. So I guess that would be the ultimate goal that I would get. I don't need awards or anything like that.
And
more of the audience recognition, I guess, would be
So
good.
then you intend to just continue, you're going to be continuing to
just
make
as Daniel
new
said, just
projects?
just keep practicing and keep doing more and more, adding more and more to my portfolio as I already have.
Is there any,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, is there anything specific you're working on now or that you have envisioned for the short term?
Sure. Right now I'm DPing, director of photography. I'm doing the camera work, I guess you could say, on a feature film called Under Overpasses, which is being shot mainly in Akron, but also other areas in Northeast Ohio. And I'm also doing a lot of promo work for a new restaurant opening up in Cleveland called The Line on Lorraine. And then in addition to that, I've always been writing. I think I'm up to like 13 screenplays right now. So I'm trying to build more on that. Just, you know, writing is great because you just need the time to do it. So you sit down and get as much out as you can. And you know, the only way you can get better is by keep doing it. So I guess that's where I'm at right now. And then hopefully within the next year or so, I'll end up having to move out west. I had an internship out in Los Angeles last summer, and I made a lot of great contacts out there. So
What was that internship?
That was, I ended up getting an internship. It wasn't necessarily through the school, but I was associated with the school. They kind of put me on my own, and I had to go kind of fish out there for my own internship. But I ended up getting one with Mandalay Entertainment. The most recent movies that they had done is there was one that just came out called Soul Surfer, which was about
the girl.
the girl. Yep.
Shark.
Yeah, I actually did product placement pictures.
You did?
Yeah, for that.
Okay, cool.
I had to go through those, and then
Hey, we're touching somebody almost famous.
almost,
Almost famous.
not really. And then another movie they just had come out was The Kids Were All Right, which was actually up for an Academy Award this past year. So.
That was with the Gay family.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was okay.
Yeah, and so through that, I've met a lot of great contacts. Still keeping in touch with all of them. I'm actually going to visit the end of July and going to see them. So I guess building off of those connections, and then what I've brought back here to Ohio, just kind of platforming myself up to wherever I can end up.
Well, when you get to Los Angeles, don't forget about
Never.
the old guy.
Absolutely. I want to live here. I don't want to go to LA.
I'm just saying, you know, Mr. Spielberg says Mike Campanizzi, we need somebody to play such and such. And I know exactly that
I
fella.
have James's number.
Yeah, well, before we
That
talk
same
to the
thing.
other two,
Yeah.
but along those same lines, which I hope we get a chance to talk about, you know, Ohio is now becoming a film market
Yeah,
state.
tax
I
credit.
noted with the tax credit, finally.
Sure.
Those of us in acting, you know, finally.
Mhm.
And don't call him, call me an old broad. But the point is, you may not necessarily have to totally do LA or New York,
Yeah.
because if we keep growing and going here,
Sure.
one of the things about our show and what we do at the Actor Studio is show people that you can stay here and perform your artistic self, whatever genre that may be. Of course, earning an income is something else again, but still, we hope with the industry ideas changing and actual state changes with filmmaking industry coming in, maybe if we stick around long enough, we can earn livings as performing artists and production folks, whatever.
Right here in
you know,
Cleveland,
in Cleveland, in the state. Were any of you involved, before we get back to you two, about your plans, any of you involved in the Corbin Burnson film with the soapbox derby? Because he used quite a bit of local.
It was huge.
Yes.
Yeah, Heckman
Yes.
was massive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
quite a bit of local talent. So we always like to think there's hope, there's a glimmer.
There is.
You
There
know.
is.
Okay, so what about your plans?
Well, actually, just to expand on that real quick,
Okay, sure.
I have been hearing from various people that I've met at these events that actual LA and New York, because of the cost of living there, the expense of actually making a film there, film companies are starting to pull back, and they are starting to go to smaller cities, Atlanta and Cleveland. Cleveland is definitely picking up, so there is certainly hope.
Yeah.
There is certainly hope.
Mhm.
As far as my goals go, I think I'm along the same lines as you. I'm trying to start a career. I'm not necessarily trying to make money, although that'd be great. I'm really trying to just start a career and that's through making contacts, and which we're all going to be exchanging numbers after this,
Absolutely.
just so you know.
Yeah, just so you
We're all
know.
meeting today.
Absolutely.
So,
We're not
and
I've got all of your
you
numbers.
got all of us. You got all of us.
Yeah.
Oh yes, absolutely. So it's a matter of, and then also on top of having a career, it's expanding and growing in my own art.
Well, that's what I taught when because I do private coaching and we teach classes, and I try to encourage actors, because that's my primary domain, actors, film, theater and film actors, and voiceover and commercial. Point being, I always tell them what you're saying. Don't go for the fame. Don't go for the money. Your goal really should be to be a working actor.
Mm-hmm.
Your goal is to be a working director.
Right.
Because if you're working, somehow the money is going to come.
Right.
You'll
Because if you
never
do-
make it if you just want to be famous.
Famous, yeah.
It is so much hard work. I
Absolutely.
mean, that was the great thing about doing my first feature as being part of the university, because I got to learn firsthand all the mistakes that, you read about it in the textbook, but it's completely different.
Sure.
And so, if you want to be famous, it's not going to give you the drive to stick through those long sleepless nights and the everything that can go
What
wrong.
filmmakers and directors have long sleepless nights too?
Right. Oh, absolutely.
I just thought it was just
Yeah,
we
yep.
directors in theater.
No.
Mhm. No, it's anyone. So you won't have that drive, and plus your first rejection notice, you go, oh.
And
You
if
know.
you don't have a thick skin, you're not supposed to be in the arts anyway. If you
No.
can't, if you don't have it when you start, you got to develop it. And if you can't develop it, get out
Get out.
now.
Yeah, you
Get
need to
out
have
now.
100% passion for
Yeah.
this, 100% drive to do this, or it's not
It
for
just
you.
won't work. Yeah. Yes, sir. And your input?
Yeah, but
I think we're all pretty
Well,
much the
what-
same.
Yeah.
As far as what you want to do in the future, what you hope for.
yeah, I think we're on the same path more or less. I just recently actually quit my job right as I graduated. I'm on, I guess you could say, call it sabbatical right now, where I'm writing some screenplays. I'm going to send those out to some competitions. Of course, hope they do well. I mean, that's one way. Sending out grad school applications in the fall. And finally, one of the screenplays that I just finished, I sent in. I'm going to be directing a short film, which is actually a sequence taken directly out of that. If it gets some attention, and I have this short film that I have together, say, well, if you like that, this is what I did. I mean, maybe we could so that, and get all my backlog of short films done and out and about, and then pray that I could make a living in the process.
Well, that's an admirable goal to have.
Just may I, for just a moment, earlier I mentioned frames, and Evan Lieberman, who again was on the show before, and there's also Kim Neuendorf. A lot of this research that's been done is available. You can see it online. Is there a website that you can tell us about the frames program so that people can go and see what it is that you're doing with that research as well?
Absolutely. Trying to remember we had just created a brand new website, so maybe we could link it up.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll get it. I actually have it in my notes, and we'll make sure that it's on the screen because I've gone in and I actually, Kim gave me one of her papers to read, which was just fascinating stuff. And it's amazing what they're doing. So I think people should see that. And by the way, part of what was unique about the films that we did was that 2 cameras were used. There was one that was digital and one that was 16 millimeter. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was the most recent one, The Conspiracy of Dental Whitmore, where we literally had them sandwiched on top of each other. And that was answering the question, does an audience prefer like a HD, presentation of the film or a film version of the film? Because frankly, you guys can attest, if you've ever shot a film, it's absurdly expensive, and it's a big pain in the
Right.
So if we can get away with shooting on digital, which that enables you to basically make as many takes as you want, shoot for next to nothing, and have the audience not really care, then great. Then we'll embrace that kind of technology. And as much as my mentor is all about film, and there is a different look to it. And there's something about when you actually shoot real film that everybody knows that, hey, we don't have 20 takes in this.
Right.
We got 3.
Right.
And once we're out, we're done. You know?
Well, when will the conspiracy of Donald Whitmore and Beneath, when do you anticipate that people will be able to actually see the films?
Those, before we can actually distribute them, those actually have to go through, and we're going to use them as experimental stimuli. So however long that process may take, it's not going to be any sooner than probably the end of the next school year, because that's where we collect a lot of data from the university and stuff.
Well, I'll look forward to when that happens. I'd like to see the films myself.
We'll get you a sneak preview. You just can't tell anyone.
I appreciate that. All right.
We're not going to have too much more time left, but I would like to speak to another practical aspect you touched on. Michael, why don't you tell us from your perspective what you think aspiring filmmakers and directors need to know about financing a film, funding a film, because it's one thing to have a dream and a passion, but it's another thing now that you guys are turning professional, that you're going to be out here on your own without the college underwriting and support, supplying equipment and so forth. So what do you recommend about getting their film projects up and going?
Honestly, from my experience, the best piece of advice that I could give would probably be to keep your budget as strictly low as possible. If you don't have to shoot on film, don't shoot on film. If you use the talent that you've made through other projects that you've done or other people that you know through school or work or whatever, they're more than likely willing to work for less money or no money at all, because a lot of us are very close or very similar in the same positions as far as where we are in our career. So we want to build on top of that and use every project as a launching pad. So I guess it's using the resources that you already have, making sure you tap into those before you start saying, okay, I just need $10,000, I'm going to go make a movie.
Okay, and then if you need the $10,000, you start looking at mommies and daddies and
That's where you
next door
start.
neighbors.
Right.
You don't look to the banks because
Right.
they are not going to be thrilled to see you coming. So we all are entrepreneurs, and all of us have to be creative as to how we get financing for the projects that we
Kickstarter's
love.
good too.
Yeah.
Kickstarter's I don't know if you guys know about that. It's like a website. You can put up your project. It's strictly for performing arts. It's not just film or anything like that. But you put your project up there and your little synopsis and description and things like that. And anyone can go on there, read the project, and say, "Wow, that's very interesting," and they can donate any sort of money to help finance that project, and they'll get a little credit in the film. But I think it's called Kickstarter.com.
Is that what it is? Kickstarter.com.
So that's interesting.
Make sure,
Make sure we know
It
about
helps.
that. Make sure we know about that. Okay, yes. What would you say, Kelly?
Oh, it's a problem that I haven't even figured out all the way yet. I mean, my film was university funded, and so with that came all the equipment and all the meals. I mean, meals are the most expensive thing on set if you're trying to run it by the union's rules, and which we were trying to, and then had to give up on because of so many things. So the way to go about it, I mean, I guess it's just to cut as many corners as you possibly can in the beginning while you're first getting started out. Be sure you're still fair to the people who are giving you their time and their.
And there's another thing that you have to consider now. Excuse me. Still the allergy. You may be fresh out of college, but one of the things that I would discuss with the aspiring artist is you deal with credit cards. If you are able to get a credit card of substance, a couple $1,000 so that you can front some of your own expenses and pay it back on a regular basis, don't get in debt beyond a certain point, but those who are able to use a credit card diligently, that's another way to get started with financing for low budget type films if you don't have parents with deep pockets. But hey, okay. Okay, go ahead, yeah.
But I mean, these things are all great. Grants are another avenue of fellowships. But really, frankly, the bottom line is you gotta do whatever you gotta do, whatever that may be. I don't know.
Get a side job at a coffee shop, wherever.
And I'm still at this age working 15 jobs. Okay.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And when you see the talk shows, the positive talk shows, the Oprahs, the late nights, and all that stuff, and they do the human interest interview with the famous person by then. They've done everything from being a car washer, a waiter, a porn star, whatever.
that instant success took 20 years.
Yes, it took 20 years to get there. Yeah.
Well, let's wrap up here and get information from each of you as far as how people can follow what you're doing, learn more about you, get involved. If people out here say, you know, I really like these young people here, and I'd like to offer some money, you know, how would they get in contact with you? Do you each, let's start with Daniel. Do you have websites? Do you have contact information?
I don't have a website now, but I do have an email address, especially if
Let's
you
give
have
that.
especially if you have money. It's easy. And if you're single, I'm single. If you have money and single, maybe we can work something.
That's a twofer.
Indeed, it is. D.A. Griffith 09 at yahoo.com.
Would you repeat that for our audience a little louder?
D.A. Griffith, INTH, 09 at gmail.com.
And we'll have it on the screen.
Mine would be, I just kept it simple at my name. Kelly Thewlis at gmail.com. That's KELLYTHEWLIS. And I also, as I mentioned before, I have a website that has more information about myself and my projects.
And I have my own little small production. And I have my own little small production company, and it's much easier to give out the website for that. So it's called Militia Hill Entertainment. It's exactly how it sounds. That's Militia.
And if you're in the mood to donate money for projects,
Okay. All the contacts there.
and if you're in the mood to donate money for projects, Wake Up and Live's Actor Studio. Okay. We are at wakeup4664 at AOL. Want to donate to us, we'll funnel some through to you.
Oh, thanks.
Isn't it nice of us? All right, James, you start wrapping up. This has been a wonderful segment, so if you will...
Well, it has, and we promised that from the very beginning. It's been a wonderful show with Michael Laurenti earlier.
An earlier show, yes.
But, you know, in fact, this whole year has been wonderful. I guess we're going to go on hiatus as we do for the summer. So this will be our last show until we begin again. So that was why I wanted to make sure to get you on this show. It's been an absolute joy and a delight to have you here. Daniel Griffith, Kelly Thewlis, Mike Campanizzi, and
what's her name?
And for Sue Johnson.
And as we begin to wrap, one thing I wanted to ask, speaking of networking, besides the local guys, Peter B. Fields, Johnny Wu, some of those guys, there's another rising star, David McCullum, who's been on our show.
Right.
He's doing a film project right now. So if you want to, after the show, remind me and I'll put you in contact with him too.
Contact
Yes.
the Wake Up and Live Theater if you are a director, if you're an actor, and you want to get involved in the arts. Contact us, email us, and you know, part of what we do is we network people with other people, and so let's build this together and promote the wonderful talent that we have in the Cleveland area. Well, we're going to leave it at that. Also.